This screencast shows you how to focus your audience's attention by adding emphasis. I'm going to demonstrate two techniques. The first one is adding emphasis to the cursor so that you can see things more easily on the screen, and the second one is adding callouts that can provide detail to specific features. I'm going to start by taking the video of my presentation that's already been recorded in the clip bin, and I'm going to drag it down to the timeline at the bottom of the screen. You'll notice the plus sign, and when I release it, it adds the video. So the video in track 1 is roughly 20 seconds long. When I drag it onto the playback head, I get a preview in the upper right hand side, and the playback controls become active. In emphasizing the cursor, I'm going to demonstrate two different techniques. One's going to add a yellow shadow that you can see more easily, and the other one is going to create more of a spotlight effect. So the first one I'm going to use with the existing video, and I'm going to go to the tabs on the left hand side. You'll see there's nothing for cursor, so if I go to more, this pop-up screen is not showing up. There we are. It's showing up a little better. There's cursor effects, and I'm going to click on that, and that opens the cursor effects window. Now, if I wanted to play a video, I can have absolutely no effects. In fact, I can hide the cursor outright just by clicking on this checkbox here, and removing the green check mark will eliminate the cursor so it's not even visible. When I click on it, you'll notice in the preview the mouse cursor comes right back. If I didn't have this preview, I could still see what effects I'm choosing for the mouse by adjusting the screen here, and there's a preview image that shows you the size of the cursor and the image in the background. So all the different effects that you can do with the mouse are going to show up in this little preview window here. Now I can change the size. It's currently about 3 times the normal size in the screen. I can take it down to 1. I can take it all the way up to 5, which probably is a little bit large. So I can take it back around 3. So there's a couple effects related to this. On the left hand side, you'll notice there's a highlight effect, a left click effect, a right click, and a sound effect. Each of these effects have other properties that you can set just by clicking the little arrow on the left hand side, and it expands to show you some of these other options. So for the highlight that was selected, we have a size of 50, I'm assuming, pixels, opacity of about 100%, soft edge, I'm not sure what that means, and color, where you can change it. I can make it red if I want to. I don't think red's very strong, but it's probably a little bit too heavy, so I'll leave it on the yellow. It's a little bit softer look. When I close the highlight effect, there's a left click effect which allows me to select what happens when I click on something on the screen. So I can have rings that will ripple out from the center of the tip of the mouse pointer. I can do a warp, I can do a ripple, and these all have a different look to them whenever the screen is clicked. I'm going to leave it on rings. So the color is red, and the size will go up to, I'm assuming, roughly 34.9 pixels. The duration is, I'm assuming, in tenths of a second. And the right click effect is roughly the same thing. The other thing you can do is have a sound effect. So what happens here is it's set to laptop. You can also have a mouse click, or you can have none. If I leave it on mouse click, which I assume is supposed to simulate the sound of pressing a key on the keyboard, I can have a very quiet soft sound, or I can take the slider all the way up to a louder sound, and if I click on the speaker, the preview sound will be played, and I'm going to press that again. Even at full volume, it's fairly soft, so it's easy to talk over it and to miss the sound altogether. Those are the effects that were set for this first one. If I click the play button on the preview, you should see the mouse move around the screen based upon some emphasis. Wherever I click on the screen, you'll see that those red rings appear. And there was the sound. So there I'm pointing out different pieces of emphasis that contribute to the visual clutter. To create a spotlight effect, I'm going to go back to the beginning. So I'll go to the clip bin, and I'm going to take the same video, and I'm going to drag it down onto the video head into the first track, butt it right up against the first one, and now I've got 2 of them. So the second one, and I'm going to click make sure that we're focused on that. Now I can see the preview of the same image, and it looks exactly the same with the cursor, with the fairly large pointer and the yellow image behind it. I'm going to go to cursor effects again. This time we're going to change things a little bit. This time, instead of a highlight effect, I'm going to select spotlight. So you can see the whole screen goes dark except for the white area around the tip of the pointer. I can change that a little bit. Again, I'll go to the arrow, click on the highlight effect, And the first thing I'll do is go to size. If I take it all the way up, it's 120. That's a fairly large spotlight. It's not really focused on the point that I'm trying to make. So I'll take it back down about 90. I think would be good. Oh, let's make it 80. There we are. So now it's about the same size as the pointer. And I'm going to leave everything else the same. But the effect is very different by using a spotlight instead of the other. So at this point, you'll notice the playback head on track 1 is at the end of the first video. This second video is exactly the same as the last, but we're going to play it from the beginning and look at what happens. And hopefully you heard those mouse clicks. So whatever it is I'm looking at, the masking helps block out the rest of the scenery so that you're focused on whatever it is I'm pointing to with the mouse. And that's how you change the effect. So you don't need to play the same video twice just to have different effects. This was just for demonstration. If I go to the second video, I'm going to hit the delete key and I'm going to get rid of it. And now we're back to the first screen. I'll quickly reset my cursor values back to the way they were before. So cursor size stays the same spotlight. I'll go to highlight, rings, and now we're back the way we were. So if you've got one video and you want to change the cursors partway through, what they have you do is at the top here, add something called a keyframe. You click on it once and you get a new value. Down at the bottom you notice there's a little red triangle. I can move that to wherever I want to start within the video. And I should have pointed this out before, but it also creates another layer or track just for the cursors. So now that I have this red keyframe, I'm going to bring the playback head over to it, and I'm going to, anywhere after this head, I should be able to change my cursor effect. So if I simply make the quick switch from highlight to spotlight, there we go. And now I'll run the playback head back to the very beginning. We should see it change partway through. So here we go. It's on play. It's using the yellow highlight. It's fairly large. It goes through some of the different steps, and there we hit it. And then we've switched to the spotlight. And that's all it really takes. The next thing I'm going to do is add some callouts. So back to the beginning, back to the clip bin, and I'm going to this time go to the image, which is a JPEG file, and I'm going to drag that onto the video track after the first one. So now that we have a static image that is just easier to do the callouts on. And I'm going to take the image, and on the video level I'm going to drag this out simply to set however long I want the time to go for. 40 seconds is probably a little long. I'll take it back to this, it's about the same size as the original video. And you notice again it's added another layer or track just for our callouts. This time there is a tab for callouts, so I'll click on the callouts tab and it gives me some options. So to add a callout, all I do is scroll to the top of the screen and I click the Add Callout button. Notice it selects whatever shape is already selected. In this case, I'm going to draw attention, let's say to the text. If I scroll down, you notice it's saying it's going to use Arial 18 point, and in the blue area, I can start typing some text, and it just appears in the area there. So that allows me to enter whatever information I need right in the arrow. If I want more than one arrow, I simply go back up and I click Add Callout, so I get a second one. Before I get set on adding text though, you notice I can change my shapes. I can get a double-headed arrow or a slightly different shape in terms of the shaft of the arrow, and all I have to do is click on it, or I can just do a Start Large Round button. So maybe I'll add a large round button over here. And again, to add text, I simply go down and I start typing in whatever it is I want to appear, and I can make changes to the size, the position, all that kind of information. Also, you notice there are some effects down here. So if I go back and I click on the arrow, I can say fade in. The fade duration extends beyond the beginning of the clip. Do you want to shift the call out? Let's say yes. And if I go down here, you notice again one layer per call out, and there's a gray shadow to either side of the image, and that's basically telling you how long the fade in and the fade out is. So the fade in I've indicated for the arrow to be 1 second, and there's the width, the size of the arrow. The fade out is also 1 second. If I go back to the fade in and again I adjust the slider, let's say I increase the time on the fade in, if it will let me here. It's not seem to be cooperating too well. I can reduce it Doesn't want to do more than 1 second. Fade out. Oh, of course, because I'm butting up against the previous video. Okay, fade out. So if I want to make it longer, I can take it up to like 4 seconds, and you notice how much longer the tail is on the right hand side of the image. So that determines how quickly the image appears or disappears. The other thing I can do, if I want to make the arrow present for a longer period of time, if I can get the cursor to cooperate, I get a double-headed arrow and then I drag it. There we are. Now it's dragging, and you notice I make the arrow persist for much longer than it did before. The filled round one, when I click on it, is only there for a few seconds, from about 20 to 25 seconds, and it's fairly short. So I'm going to leave that in just to see what the effect is. I can also, if I want to, make a flash hotspot. And then when I click on that, it gives me the properties box to add more information. You can play around with this. It can give you a jump to a URL to open a web page, to do different kinds of things. So the hotspot properties are going to allow you to add specific features to that part of the video. I'm going to take that off for now because we really don't need that. And let's run the video and see what effect we have. Again, I'll set the playback head. It's already set actually. All set to go on the second image. It's going to run for 20 seconds. Let's see just exactly what it does. And there the arrow is persisting and the dialog box is gone. And we come to the end, and now the arrow should start to fade. And sure enough, it slowly fades out of the image. So this was very quick, just to show you the technique. If I were actually setting this up for a proper demonstration, I'd be using either the callouts or the arrows to identify which aspects on the slide were visual clutter. Give it some labels to indicate why it's clutter, and maybe suggest some possibilities for what to change. I could use the cursor again to emphasize a lot of different things that are not terribly effective, and because the slide is already so busy, probably going to choose to do something like the spotlight to zoom in on certain areas when I'm first going over the things that I want to change. I would also try to do a video where I'm actually changing it so that people can see one step at a time each of the changes that are being made to reach the final result. So here you have it. 2 quick ways of adding cursor effects and adding callouts in order to emphasize different aspects of the screen.